This video will help you to write the comparison contrast essay. The first step is to choose a set of topics. You want to choose something that's interesting that allows for an in-depth comparison. The point is to help your reader gain a new understanding of these topics with your comparison. Determine whether you want to cover similarities, differences, or both in your essay, and how you want to balance them if you cover both similarities and differences. Consider what would be most interesting. If the topics are very similar, you might point out a lot of the differences between them. Likewise, if they are very different topics that you wouldn't normally compare, then you want to point out more similarities. Do some preliminary research at this stage to make sure that your topics will work, that they have enough depth, and that you can find sources over them to support them. These topics also should not be very personal, so don't compare your best friend to your worst enemy or something like that. These need to be topics that you can research and that will help your reader to understand these two subjects better once your essay is finished. The second step is to come up with a rough outline. You want your thesis first to be the point of your comparison. That is, why is it important that we set these two topics next to each other? What can we gain from your comparison? The next thing to come up with are the 3 points you want to discuss equally for each topic. You're going to end up with a point-by-point comparison in your essay, so you want topics that can be discussed for both sides. Don't pick something that you can't use for one of your subjects. You want to balance your points for your topics as well. So you want something that you can look at for both subjects. Use a Venn diagram at this stage to help you come up with ideas for what to cover in your essay. A Venn diagram is pictured on the screen here and uses two circles where you use differences on the outsides and similarities on the inside. The third step is to start looking for sources. You want to add sources to your discussion at this stage. Find at least two credible academic sources. These would be ones where the information is reliable and trustworthy. Look for very complex information rather than that at the surface level. You want to be looking for sources that give you some depth so that you have something to cover in your essay. Look at library databases as well. These are the best places for sources. At Allen, we have quite a few databases that will help you out. EBSCOhost is an example. It has journal entries and newspaper articles and things like that. Credo Reference might also work for you. This is a sort of a reference database where you find information similar to Wikipedia, but it is a more scholarly source. For this essay, make sure that you are not using Wikipedia as a source. The fourth step is to draft. This is where you're going to take your outline and brainstorming and turn it into an essay. Start with the introduction. At the very beginning, you should have some sort of hook to draw your reader in. Then you want to explain your topics and the basis for your comparison, as well as your thesis statement. You want to start with something that will interest your reader, but pull them pretty quickly into the comparison itself. Why are we comparing these two things together, and what can we gain from it? The body will be next, and the body of your essay needs to have 3 paragraphs. Each one should start with a sentence that explains either the similarity or difference that you're covering, and then you want to cover the first subject and then the second subject in the paragraph. Now you can go in either order, doesn't matter, you kind of want to mix it up a little bit, but you do need to make strong ties between the first subject and the second subject in each paragraph. The next paragraph will look very similar, topic, sentence, first subject, second subject with a tie between them. So you'll do that for 3 paragraphs. So 3 main points, 3 points for comparison. This is a point-by-point comparison structure. The conclusion is your last paragraph, and this would recap the main point, so your thesis, and then tell us again the purpose of your comparison. The fifth step is to revise. The first thing you want to look for or edit for is second person, making sure that you have eliminated all of the yous and the yours and the yourselves, because second person is not appropriate to use in academic writing. Then you want to edit for transitions, making sure that each paragraph has strong transitions between your two subjects and that each paragraph transitions from the previous paragraph so we know how all of these topics and points are related to each other. Edit for documentation, making sure that your two sources on your works cited page. If you use more than two, you will have more than two entries. Making sure that you have at least one quote and one paraphrase in your essay. More is recommended, but you want to make sure you're meeting the minimum requirement and that your two sources are both referenced in the essay. So they need to be on the works cited page and they also need to be referenced in the essay. And this is a requirement. You can use signal phrases, you can use in-text citations, but you need to reference those two sources in the essay. You will also want to revise for balance. One of the issues with this paper is students have trouble focusing on both subjects at the same time and making sure that they're balanced and it's not a biased paper. This is not an argument as to whether one subject is better than the other. It is simply a comparison. So think of it as an informative essay that is placing two things next to each other so that we have a deeper understanding of them. Finally, revise for at least 3 confusing passages in your essay. You want to keep looking through it over and over again to make sure you catch all of your errors, but this is a good time to go through and pick out 3 spots in particular that you can revise to make them sound better. This is your chance during the revision process to really improve the writing that you have done. So this is step-by-step video for helping you write the comparison contrast essay.